Welcome, and thank you for your interest in the profiler. The profiler, as you've already read by now, is a self-audit process which actually tests the vulnerability to union organizing in efforts towards maintaining a union-free workplace. This video will provide an overview of the features of the profiler and how to navigate the various worksheets. The core element of the profiler is in the master questionnaire worksheet. It's here that you'll find the various 12 main categories and the 144 queries with 12 within each of the main categories. The queries themselves are time tested as successful indicators of employee sentiment and satisfaction, and in turn, the propensity for engaging or not engaging representation from unions and outside third parties. So let's dig into the master questionnaire worksheet. I've pulled up here as an example the very first category out of the 12, and that is pertinent to a commitment to a union-free environment. And then here would be within the 12 different queries that are asked. And in turn, you would then indicate your response within each of the categories themselves. So for example, here, I have already preloaded information here or ratings, as you can see here, 7, 6, 4, 6, 3, 6. And it's important to remember that as you input your ratings, that you would need to remove and I would simply recommend just deleting the entry and then entering your own entry or your own rating yourself. And as you may have noticed over here, and in so doing that, it did change the radar chart that you see on the far right. So for example, here in this particular query, where I had loaded in a 6, let's take the 6 out and put in a 2. And so doing, you can see that that changed up the skewing on the radar chart. So again, there are no formulas per se. However, the cell entries are read from your input in these various columns and rows. So again, it's important to remember to delete anything that is previously there and then load in your own particular assessment yourself. And again, the spectrum is 0 to 7. And basically 0 would be, nothing exists at all. 7 would be a best in class rating. And then of course, the spectrum of options in between. So also too, with respect to each of the assessment categories is a narrative that travels along to actually explain the rationale behind the category and the queries within. And then as you can see on the far right would be the radar chart, which dovetails to the various queries. The 12 of them here, for example, are plotted here around the perimeter of this radar chart. And then the actual ratings that are provided here are plotted accordingly, 0 through 7, again, for each of the queries, so that you can get a pretty quick line of sight to where there may be particular problem areas relative to other areas that may have stronger ratings in terms of possibly prioritizing the initiatives in those particular areas over others. And then it also provides for an opportunity to look at again, the overall relativity of the strength of those rating indicators in total. So the layout of this particular category is exactly alike for the other 11 in terms of the particular queries that are in the category, the narrative supporting the logic behind the queries and the category, and as well the radar chart. So there are other features to the profiler that I'll then move into. However, this is again fundamentally one of the core main elements within the profiler. I will say this, that being all on one page, as I've kind of blocked off the rest of them, but you know, that there, if I scroll down real quickly, you can get a quick idea of the layout here. However, I've just kind of blocked it out here just for the sake of proprietary information, and being able to use this as an example. So moving on, let's go to, again, as we are using the category of commitment to a union-free environment as an example for illustration purposes, let's go to the commitment worksheet. So what you'll see here, again, are the inputs from the master questionnaire. Going back to that, for example, the ratings that were put into the category of commitment to a union-free environment are then read and transported over here into this particular column only as Series 2. These columns, if you unprotect the worksheet, you can label them whatever is appropriate. For example, Series 2 in some instances may be a particular department, could be a particular calendar year, could be a particular quarter, time cycle, whatever the case might be. And same thing for Series 1, Series 3. There are 3 different series that are provided. However, likewise, I've provided as much as 11 different sets of series. So, for example, if it was important to track by, particular input by particular departments, and these do average, by the way. The purpose of this worksheet is to average all of the different ratings that are in each of the different units to provide averages. So, for example, the only input that was provided over here was captured from the master questionnaire, and it was mapped into or calculated into, and those are the only numbers, the averages. So basically, for example, if in Series 1 you wanted to put 2 and a 5 and a 7 and a 3 and a 5 and a 2 and a 5, 6, 4, 3, 2, 6. And then, for example, and those would, if there are no other series entries, then of course those would flow through over into the averages. And then of course those would also flow down into the chart here, which would also contain all of the averages. So if you watch the chart as you put in the different series, for example, if I were to do 5s all across the board here, now that would be for one unit. Now, say another unit, another department, another sector, another division, however, the organization is structured for comparative purposes, can also, through a separate master questionnaire worksheet, then provide input, for example, into another series or another category of input. So as you might want to put here, I'll just put this in here. So we got 3s. And then you can see how that changed the average in terms of that particular series. And then likewise, if you wanted to input any of these here, and again, I'm just doing this for illustrative purposes and as opposed to true ratings. But these would be ratings that would come from your master worksheet for that particular unit or segment of the organization. So the idea here is that as more units are completed, if there are additional units that are desired, they will continue to bake into the average in terms of that particular one singular category. So that is essentially the way that the category worksheets would work. And if you really just only simply wanted to remain with the master questionnaire, then basically, this information would be exactly as it is here on the master questionnaire. So again, the purpose of the individual category worksheets is to provide additional capabilities with respect to broader infrastructure within an organization in terms of units, departments, locations, or potentially even levels within an organization, and the ability to provide that data in a build towards determining an average as well. And then those averages then are likewise transported by category into the normative summary worksheet, where each of the categories themselves, the 12 categories, from an average standpoint of view, would then be able to capture the normative data for each of those categories. So again, a lot of powerful capabilities within this particular program to be able to singularly look at a segment or a segment of a workforce or the entire workforce, and also maybe by a particular locational structure as well, depending on the size and the scope of the particular operations. So hopefully this gives a pretty good overview of the features and the capabilities of the profiler. The other thing that's important themselves, again, is back to the queries themselves, which again, um, have stood withstood the test of time when it comes to the validity of the correlation between those particular questions, and again, the propensity for tendencies to seek out unions, or present vulnerabilities for union organizing. So thank you for your good attention, and hopefully you'll have great success with this product. Thank you again.